Mr. Newall, how are you?
I'm good. Am I coming through loud and
You
clear?
are coming through loud and clear, and brilliantly. I can look at you in two places at once. This is honestly, I'm just
Oh,
viewing
very
this.
sturdy.
I'm just viewing this as an advanced preview for when you appear on every TV screen on Earth and go, ladies and gentlemen, and others of the planet. We all knew. I'm in charge.
People of Earth, I have an announcement.
People of Earth, your Lord and Master is awake and playing track 3.
Listening to track 3.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, before we dive into rest and relaxation techniques for the genius creatives, you're going to do an opening monologue for us.
Yes, I am. Shall I take it away?
Take it away.
Very well. So today's reading shall be from the book of The Full Lid, 4th of December 2020 entry, regarding the story known as 13 Stories by a certain author of, never heard of them. But, you know,
It's going well.
I support independence. And are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Jonathan Sims knows a thing or two about horror. The writer of the Magnus Archives and the voice of its perpetually tortured lead, Sims has been at the centre of an escalating storm of extraordinarily successful and ambitious horror for close to 5 years. Next year, the Magnus Archives comes to a close, and now we have an idea of what Johnny's doing next. He's investing in property. Kind of. Banyan Court is a London tower block and, in turn, cross-section of London itself, building bisected by class. The front is pure J.G. Ballard, nice choice, towering architecture and opulence, crisp, tight-collared efficiency of capitalism, tailored sociopathy. The back is Dickensian, down to the dirt under its nails. A diverse, marginalised, neglected community where part-time workers rub shoulders with professional tradespeople in corridors that feel like being backstage at a more important person's house. Banyan Court is designed to do a very specific job, and when 13 residents, all increasingly haunted by their experiences of the building, are invited to join owner Gideon Fell for dinner, they find out just what that purpose is. Superficially, it would be easy to look at 13 Stories and say Sims is playing a familiar tune on a different instrument. The use of a London tower block as the site for an occult event and the portmanteau nature of the novel are both elements he's demonstrated phenomenal skill with in the Magnus Archives. But Sims is cleverer than that. Ooh, very flattering. 13 Stories is simultaneously a return to the portmanteau or nested stories model of horror with a cheeky salute to the themed anthologies of the past. Everything from Amicus movies to urban gothic, from Hellblazer to Best New Horror, has experimented with this form. But Sims does something none of the others could do. Matches that format with his own unique approach. A word which, brilliantly, autocorrect just suggested I swap for unquiet. Surprisingly accurate. Magnus Archives fans will immediately resonate with the voice of the prose. It screams out for spoken delivery. It also reinforces the musical, magical portmanteau effect, resonating through the discrete setting like a disconcerting noise bouncing through darkened, identical corridors. Characters waft through each other's lives with varying degrees of severity. A worried-looking gentleman taking measurements in the corridor becomes vital. The shadowy figures on the stairs only ever multiply. The main characters are never powerless, but all struggle under that curiously blunted and uniquely English trauma of not wanting to acknowledge the monster in the room. Or, in some cases, the monster that is the room. Everyone smiles and nods. No one makes eye contact. We all ignore the pit. Using character as lens and scalpel alike to dissect and explore his themes is one of the keys to Sims' success. Each character is realistic, plausible, complex, flawed, and unpredictable. The ending here, the events of which are built to throughout the book, is measured and brutal, feral and cathartic, and completely clear-eyed. The pages that follow are considered, melancholy, and bleakly hopeful. Sometimes you do what you have to survive. Sometimes that's all you get. Sometimes it has to be enough. 13 Stories is a remarkable debut, and Sims has hinted it won't be his last. Find it at all good booksellers in both print and full cast audiobook, including the big Mr. Sims himself.
Fucking
And
hell,
unless
mate.
you want me to read a series of ads, I feel like I might have reached the end of the monologue.
You have in fact reached the end of the monologue. I have 3 immediate responses to you doing that. The first is that you need to do more audiobooks.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, it would. The second is you will. One of the things that I always found really interesting about Magnus is that everyone kind of focused on you as an organizational mastermind, and no one noticed that you're a really fucking good actor.
Yeah, I think it was nice to read something. It's nice to see. I know Johnny had a lot of time to ponder as the book took a little while with pandemic and everything slowing things down. So it's nice to be able to sort of read all these things now. Yeah, for what it's worth, that's a very kind thing to say, even if I don't necessarily agree.
Well, my job, my literal job, someone does actually pay me to do this, is to believe things which are positive and nice about my friends when they don't. So you're very talented, and shut up.
That's a very.
That was our
you
show.
job.
Thanks
I
a
like
lot,
it.
folks. So have you been?
I've been okay. I have been. Ironically, I think I've been busier than when Magnus was still running.
Yes, that is
So,
ironic
I
and not remotely surprising, Alex.
I know. I am aware that a lot of people are expecting me to be on a beach somewhere, and that's not quite how it works. Instead, I'm in a featureless void, but that's cool too.
It's nice.
It's hard to feel lonely when the void looks back.
So
How about yourself? How have you been, Alasdair?
I've been sick as a dog, and I'm still recovering, but I am in fact recovering, and it's one of the things which has kind of led to me wanting to have this conversation with you tonight, which is I've been staggeringly good in the past at assuming that everyone else's needs outweigh the needs of the one, and nowadays I would let the Enterprise burn. Basically, I'm like, no, I don't feel very well. Someone else could go inside the big room of radiation-y death, thank you. And I'm trying really hard on folding in self-care techniques and moments where I am not working to go along with everything else. And people who have some knowledge of self-care techniques and what to do when they're not working led me naturally to you. What do you do to relax, Alex? I'm very curious. And please be aware before we go any further. Oh, that's lovely. That's nice. Thank you.
Isn't that relaxing?
Isn't that relaxing? This is a no judgment zone. This isn't us setting you up to take the piss. This is genuinely, you have relaxation techniques. And I'm guessing you probably want some more, and I think we can help.
Okay. What does Alex do to relax? Alex has very little in his roster. So I've said this before, I think, on a couple of interviews, which is I have a sort of hyper-focus problem.
So just
part of that is...
real quick, someone in the comments has just said suit shopping, which is just a perfect answer.
Here's the thing. I found a way to automate suit shopping, so I
What?
never have to do it again. It's even more efficient. It's great.
Okay, let's do the suit shopping
fabulous.
sidebar. Don't leave me hanging.
So,
Okay.
Automated suit shopping. Basically, there are a few services where it's like, oh, we'll send you some clothes and then you can try them on or whatever. It turns out that the price has dropped significantly, but more importantly, if you take the time to write an entire 2,000 to 3,000 word summary of just every single nuance of you and just say, I need this, you get it done in a day. It's great. I'll never have to leave the house again. I can stay in the void forever.
I mean, it is a good void, in fairness. So,
But sorry, I think there's a slight lag. To return to the original question then, things that I do to unwind. I have to occupy my brain to unwind, because if I don't, I have a little bit of trouble. So I struggle with abnegation, where it's like doing something for the sake of doing it. It has to occupy a certain amount of me, otherwise it doesn't really trigger. So it's stuff like the things that I tend to rely on are immersive single player games, because those hit the sweet spot of feeling like I'm doing something when I'm really not. And yeah, like I don't watch as much TV as people might think, but I'd say a lot of the time what I do is I tend to binge a lot, and I don't mean binge culture. I mean like I will binge work and then have a crash, which isn't quite the same thing. So that's one where I'll just be ill on a day, and I'll plot out that I'll be ill on that day because that's my catch up day. But it's because I'm not very good at that time management thing, especially during during lockdown, like right now. There's two ways that can go. Assuming that you have, like assuming that you're in a stable position, that you're not under any like heavy life pressures, and that's a big if. The two ways that you can really go with this is you can either sort of enter a hibernation mode, or you can sort of do the exact opposite and go into a manic mode, where the idea is, it's very difficult to have FOMO when literally nothing is happening in the world apart from people being at home. And that's a really good motivator. I'm not sat there going, oh, I wish I was out with friends. I'm sat there going, all my friends are also at home, so I may as well do some stuff. So I find it oddly motivating. So I've been, weirdly enough, the more I'm forced to stay put, the more that manifests as productivity rather than resting. So one of the reasons I agreed to this as an interview is I don't really have good answers. If I did, I'd be a much more chill person, but I don't.
Okay, I think we can help you out with some stuff. First off, one of the questions that's come up in the chat a lot is what single player games?
Oh, good question. So, I have a few habits born from when I was a young kid who did not get pocket money, and so made every single penny I earned from pot washing gigs count. So that equates to RPGs, because 20 quid for a
800
2-year-old
hours.
RPG.
Yep.
Absolutely. In your pence per thing, you're at like 0.01 pennies per 100 hours of content. So I think those scratch the itch quite a lot. I've been having a lot of fun actually with, and again, I don't know much about it. It kind of stumbled across my feed because, again, I don't tend to just buy whatever's the latest thing. I'll tend to just wait and then get stuff when it turns up because I don't have the kind of time to stay current as such. So one that cropped up was it's a game called The Forest. I don't know a huge amount about it, to be honest. It's a combination outdoor survivalist horror. But the thing that's interesting is it strikes a very well-balanced note between the survivalist bit and the horror bit. I mean, you can just turn the horror bit off altogether, but the thing that I found incredibly useful is it really scratches the itch, especially over the winter, of feeling out that you're outside, because the sound design's fabulous. It holds up quite well, and you don't have to engage with the horror. You can, and it's a good way to sort of keep yourself engaged, but it's just immersive enough that it tickles that spot and makes sure that I'm occupied, but can be most of the time very, very chill, with the occasional, assault by enormous mutant monsters that are unkillable and destroy the last 3 hours of work, which, suits me quite well.
The creative life, really.
Basically, yeah. But it's nice to be able to be like, I am gonna build a small house. I have now built a small house. What now? Oh, monsters. I guess I'll deal with that. And I don't hit the same fatigue of... I struggle with a game that's building for the sake of building, because at some point I'm just like, I've built a thing. Good.
It's done now.
I need that narrative progression a little bit. So I've got Subnautica. I bought, and is now sat in my back end on queue, but I haven't played that one yet. So I think that's my next one of things that I can just sit and do with a little couple of hours here or there.
I think Subnautica is going to be really good for you because it's that exact same thing, where you survive and slowly expand out into stuff, and then fish with enormous eyes eat your face and your submarine, and you have to start all over again. So it's
plus it looks really scary, the open water thing.
Right.
That looks really scary to me.
Right. one of the only video game levels that ever genuinely traumatized me was Tomb Raider 2. And it was that, well done, you've blown up the oil rig. You're at the bottom of the Atlantic. You have no oxygen. That's a shark. Run.
I really struggled with Tomb Raider, and we're talking like the original Tomb Raiders when I was a lot younger.
Pointy boob
Like,
Tomb Raider, yeah.
You know how sometimes you've got a game and you'll see the puzzle and you'll be like, oh, I know what you're getting at here. Bah, 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 bah. Clearly, those puzzles were generated by a mind so utterly alien to mine that I will never unlatch them. I would play for like 3 hours and not find the switch that's in the middle of the room. I just never clicked with those games. I don't know why.
I'm exactly the same. 2 was really good because it was basically an action movie with a light seasoning of archaeology. But all that stuff with the go and retrieve this Incan cog from 18 miles this way, dodge the T-Rex and the blow dart wielding monkeys, and then come back here, I was just like, no, I'm going to go mess around in my big house.
With the hedge.
Yeah, see, I did that obstacle course about 200 times.
Still, the easiest money Keeley Hawes has ever made. Just, no. Just superb. So the forest is the one with the kind of, you build beautiful, relaxing looking log cabins, and then periodically things with mouths for torsos come along and try and tear them apart, right?
Yeah, although... So I actually played this with a friend. We were experimenting basically to see how it works. So I actually played this with April Sumner, and who does a bunch of our production work. And we were trialing it out, and we ran into a bit of a problem, which was, you spoilers for the first 30 seconds. You land in a plane crash on what's seemingly an abandoned peninsula that turns out not to be abandoned. So we turn up and we're like, right, well, the first thing we'll do is we'll start chopping trees down to make a house and blah, blah, blah. But it has a very, very clever set of AI that recognizes how you play. And so we started angering all of the sort of creatures. And
enrage the forest gods.
Yeah, basically we enraged the forest, right? So then what we were like is, right, fine, we'll build defenses, we'll chop down more trees, and we'll make things, and we'll make spears. And then the whole time it's just tearing through us, and we're there going, this is ridiculous. I'm spending all I'm doing is just chopping trees down to make weapons to keep things at bay. Eventually I looked it up, and it's basically the more you mess around with the natural ecosystem, the angrier it gets. And we had a bit of a reality check where we went, oh, we're the colonial bastards, aren't we?
Oh, we're the baddies.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
We're the baddie. We landed in a plane crash. Everyone came to see who we were, and we immediately started chopping everything down and then killing everything. And we're the problem, aren't we? So then we restarted being like really chill, and it lengthens the amount of time you have before you get aggro things by weeks. So it was a bit of a wake-up call where it was really nice to get that reality check and go, yeah, we're the problem here. We're the problem in this situation. But yeah, it's very cathartic at first, but the whole point of it is it's kind of unrelenting, and that's sort of the point. I thoroughly recommend it to people who are okay with their horror, but it does have quite a lot of horror elements in it. A lot of exploring caves where there are, bodies and weird mutated body horror stuff, and it hits a lot of notes.
See, having played Little Hope with you, I understand completely how you could instinctively min-max the conflict inherent in the game straight away, and then just have to tweak it down a little bit.
I must confess, I wasn't the one necessarily who called for a reset. I was the one. I may have done something that you've come to know me for, Alasdair, which is...
Did you take it to its logical conclusion?
I did indeed find out it was possible to make effectively a large machine that would just kill anything that came nearby. So I may have made a fortress of death, literally built from the bones of the fallen, and all it would do is kill anything that came nearby. And at that point, that may have been the point where I realized, I think we're the baddies. Why? Because I have more than one throne made of bone. And as you look around, you're like
Oh.
bone chandelier with the bodies of the fallen like mounted on the walls, with a fortress that has a trap on every wall that you can automatically reset and just kills and kills and kills. And your character falls asleep to the thudding of deadfall traps. You do start to question whether you're the hero of the story.
I'm in awe. I'm genuinely in awe. That is impressive, even by your usual magnificent standards.
I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed near survival games if there's other people because I don't play them right.
We have a request in the chat for whether we'll stream on Halloween again, which I think is something to file away for future discussion.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful question for people who believe I have any control over my own life anymore.
The company that does that game usually has a release every year, so I'm hoping they'll have another one this year that we could take a look at.
You know what I think it might be
Well,
time
if
for?
nothing
I
else,
think you should talk to Alex about one of your favorite self-care things.
So, brief sidebar. Basically from about 2019 onwards, something began to happen in my career, which began to accelerate my aggregate level of stress. And there is no way to say this without it sounding braggy, so I'm just going to come out and say it and trust that you know me well enough to know I'm not. I started
go fully bombastic, double down.
Hugo's bitches. I started being nominated for the Hugo Award. Initially in a couple of categories. This year I'm a finalist in 4. And
congratulations again.
Thank you very much. And in 2019, it actually kind of almost killed me. It was
not almost kill you, but it was very stressful.
It was very stressful and very unpleasant, and it did all kinds of really unpleasant things to how I operated on a daily basis. And it took a very long time for me to put some of that stuff down. This helped.
I'm sorry. Unfortunately, because you're streaming, the resolution's dropped to the point where I can't see what it is.
Moisture bomb tissue masks, Alex. Face masks.
Okay. That explains. So I did come into the featureless void and find there's a collection of things here
good. Do
that
tell me
aren't
what's in there.
normally here. So that makes sense.
What's in there?
We have a rescue mask, which isn't as exciting as it sounds.
Okay.
I have a hand cream and some weird-shaped candies that may, in fact, be naturally occurring fruits. I don't recognize any of them. I think
the cucumbers are going to be for your eyes when you put the mask on.
Oh, okay.
Right. Are we doing the masks? I think we're doing the masks.
It's skincare time.
Okay. Pick your mask.
Right. It's some kind of cream.
Cool. Oh, it's a cream. It's an applicator one. All right.
This will be fun.
This will.
You're gonna make Silence of the Lambs jokes, aren't you?
Well, here's the thing:
Silence.
I've had a wonderful piece of
you can
advice
actually
that
put
I
it
came
on, right?
across, which is wear face masks and then go
That's
for a
the
night
plastic
walk
bit, honey.
whilst your face
There you
mask is
go.
settling
Put
in.
that part on.
Say what?
So there's a wonderful piece of advice that I read, which is if you ever put a mask on of an evening, go for a walk just for the pleasure of being the person going around under streetlights whose face appears to be falling off.
Oh, that is precious.
What?
Oh, put a face mask on, then go for a walk and see how long it takes people to notice that you're wearing a mask and a mask.
Oh, haven't tried that. I've done this on conference call. Okay, you have to do the other trick though. The other trick is you take what's left in the packet and give me your hands,
Oh, cool.
and then you put it on your hands so you
Okay.
don't lose anything.
All right.
There are your cucumber slices. You may also eat them if you wish.
So how are we doing?
Okay.
Good.
I am applying something to my
You can put your
face.
glasses all over the top.
There we are.
I am.
Good.
I am going to grab. There is a mirror, which retrospectively feels like I should have set up initially, but here we all are. Let's see. So what's happening here? Okay, I have stuff on my face. Apparently, I am to...
Is this one of the ones where you have to rub it in? Does it gradually exfoliate you?
Yes. Apparently I do, so we'll do that.
Your glasses are adorable.
Also, more importantly, I have successfully managed to dodge the first anticipated trial, which is I'm pretty certain I'm putting the face stuff on my face instead of the hand stuff. So
nicely done. Nicely done. I'm
right.
super impressed. Thank you, Specky. I feel amazing.
So I'm oddly tingly.
Great. There should be some instructions as to how long that needs to be on your face. I think with mine it's about 15 minutes.
10 minutes is good.
10 minutes. It's all pretty harmless.
Just keep talking.
Yes,
15 minutes.
15 minutes. There we go.
What happens after 15 minutes?
I'm thinking damp cloth and wash off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean if you don't. Like, is there a world record for longest face mask left on, do you think?
There are many reasons you are my friend. Now there is one more.
You have bonded over face masks.
You've bonded over face masks. I think that... I don't feel like tonight's the night you want to set that record, but I think that might be a new goal. I really do.
I do know there was... So my brother-in-law lived in Japan for a while, and would send... he had a no-context photo album where it was all the weirdest images of himself he could take, but with no context whatsoever. So there was one that arrived because of the time difference, 4 a.m, and you kind of check, so you're like, it's normally important, what is it? And it's staring at one of these, but it was Pikachu's face.
Oh, wow.
But because of the distortion effect upon it, it was like, what happens if you take Pikachu and then just, okay. Have you ever seen cartridge tilting as a thing? The old NES cartridges.
Yeah.
It's like, when Mario's face just sort of that, but Pikachu. Very odd to see on a human speaking at you.
Yeah, I can imagine. And also, frankly, terrifying.
It was the most horrifying thing you could wake up to imagine. Well, it was great.
So, you got about 15 minutes with that one. That's good. Is it fully applied?
Yes, apparently it is.
Great.
Hobbies?
It feels it.
Are you tingly?
I am tingly. What is the next step in being a relaxed human?
What hobbies do you engage in, which are not work? And I know this is a curse for all people who have lived past the millennial era, because sooner or later we all decide to turn our hobbies into jobs.
So I confess currently I have none. Every hobby I had, I have commodified like a good little capitalist, and currently have 0 hobbies. My net productivity for social time is just excellent. Don't do that. That's a piece of advice for everyone. Leave at least one. I think we've discussed this before. If I had time and resources galore, I would have a workshop where I build things, because I do enjoy assembling and building stuff.
Is this Operation Grumpy Drone? I love Operation Grumpy Drone.
Yes. So
Operation Grumpy Drone is the best.
You know what? I feel like you will actually explain Operation Grumpy Drone better than I do, because I don't even register it as a thing. It just feels like a natural conclusion, but apparently it's a thing.
Operation Grumpy Drone. The idea is that Alex and Hannah make their millions. They retire to the woods. This is after Hannah becomes Bumper Yacht World Champion. I believe that was also discussed at a couple of points as well.
Yep, Bumper Yachts is very much Hannah's purview. Yep.
And you just quietly set up this, not even no-fly zone, but this annoyance zone to keep people away from you. And the closer people get to you, the more drones appear and just do not overtly hostile stuff, but just kind of annoying shit. Just like drones follow you back to you.
It's because it all came from a single creator who proved how easy it is to make a facial recognition algorithm tied to a spatial recognition algorithm for a drone. With comparatively little coding, you can make a drone that does one thing, which is flies slightly too close to you for comfort. Look, doesn't need to do any more. Doesn't need to attack you. It doesn't need to fire guns. But it's like, if comfort's here, it's just there. And if you move close, it backs away. So it's no danger to anyone. But the idea of having a nice cabin out far, far from the world, and like a rogue hiker goes off trail and starts getting closer, and more drones that I've built turn up until it starts being a thing, like that appeals to me. If I could make that happen, that would be an excellent use of my time as a hobby, I feel.
I just had this image now of this hiker trudging, thoroughly pissed off, through the woods with this like line of drones behind him going, hey, your boots shit. Hey. Oh, was that a bear? Hey, did you bring enough water? I don't think you did.
What? Now, you know what I'd do? I'd trigger it that I'd tie it to the fairy from Zelda, the hey, and I'd have it yell it every time they blinked, because the facial recognition could do that.
Yes. Oh, that would be amazing.
That's the kind of stuff I would love to sit and build. But alas, these things take time, money, and resources, so not quite yet. But
so let's kind of collapse down a little bit and more into the present day, because I know we're not going to go into specifics for RQ, because I know you're very careful about the stuff that you want to talk about and when you want to talk about it. I totally respect that, but we also know that the company is very much into a transitional phase at the moment, with Magnus having landed, and Stellar Firma on its way into land. And I believe it's the end in sight for RQ Gaming as well.
Yes, although that's a little harder to pin down due to the nature of people having a tendency to immediately travel to the far end of the planet for a jolly. Does make it difficult to predict run times. But yeah, we're in that odd little phase where a couple of months from now, it'll be very clear. But right now, everyone is sort of like waiting to know what happens now a little bit. And I have to do the can't tell you thing, but busy in the background for a while thing.
So how do you manage the come down from the frantic sprint towards the end of finishing various shows to the moment before other stuff launches? Because not even you can be on all the time.
So there's two things that confuse people which sort of tie to that, which is, the first one is I live 6 months in the future. Like, and I know that sounds odd, like most of the stuff that I'm doing day to day isn't for now.
It's for 6 months in the
future. Exactly. So as a result, you can. The negative side is you can sort of cheat positivity. I forget the study. Basically the psychological study, which is basically the longer in advance you know something good is going to happen, the less it matters to you when it does happen, because you effectively borrow against that future joy to get you through stuff. You'll be like, oh, it'll be great when this is done, but it's an account that sort of starts with a certain amount of joy in there, and every time you borrow from it, you lessen the joy when it lands. So I think that's something that I run into as a problem quite a lot, is that sort of living the 6 months, is you can borrow quite heavily on that thing. But the flip side is I know it sounds odd because I never claim that having no downtime is a good thing, but I just automatically fill it with projects, can't help myself. So as an example, Magnus is done from my perspective, let's say, so we're a few months in the past now, but it won't be finished for public, for a good long while, but I know there's a sort of rundown. First day afterwards is playing catch up. Then after that, it is a little bit more of a slowdown. Like we did take, let me get this right, 2 weeks ago, I nominally took a week off. What that actually turned into is, from 7 days, 3 of those days I ended up having to work, but not in a kind of capacity with other people. 3 of those days were a lot of like house catch up, so a lot of like DIY, because again, it's making stuff, it's cleaning stuff, it's you getting all that done, with then like a day of chill down. So the truth is I know it sounds like hyperbole. I really don't actually know what to do with myself when I have downtime. I get very antsy almost immediately.
26 seconds to mask, by the way.
Sorry. From my perspective, the second that you look at that, phone, it's like Mr. Mime suddenly got angry at me. It's just It's quite an intense angle.
And dismount.
Here's your timer.
Thank you. So basically what you're saying is that you fill your time with work because you don't know how to fill it with anything else.
Mood.
It's more that everything that I did...
Needs better hobbies.
Everything that I did to chill out, I was like...
I can't hear you.
I could never face having a 9-to-5 job, so why don't I try to make a job out of the things I do to unwind? But, you know, it's the age-old adage, you know, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's not true.
You work every single hour, God sends.
Yeah, absolutely. There is one thing that I have managed to sustain, which is quite nice, is I still play in a D&D game where I make a point of playing with people who have nothing to do with the company.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that, to be blunt, so that no one gives a crap. Because one of the things is that when you're in this position too long, the questions always become, oh, that sounds interesting, tell me about it. And after number 50, it's like, it's when you have the conversation, you know, when someone says, but no, enough about me, that's really, really boring. And I have to sit there and go, no, that sounds brilliant. Please tell me about what you had for breakfast. I'm genuinely interested. So one side effect is I've become a very good audience for the banal in a completely, like, genuinely interested way, just because it's off the beaten track, which is especially important when we're all sort of still in lockdown.
Oh, of course.
Well, you know, semi-lockdown. I just noticed
that your chair is branded Secret Lab, and I cannot think of anything more appropriate.
Well, that was Hannah gave me an ultimatum, which was get yourself a good chair, or I will force you to get a good chair because you're spending more time in the room than not. So that was a very kind research from her, where she just goes, "This is the one that will mean your back will survive."
Take it. Good. Yes. We have a question from the chat, which is, what is your favorite Pokemon?
Excellent question. That is something, actually, for a while, to take a brief sidebar. When I was still working the night job at the same time as doing stuff, so this was the real, like, crunch period where I only had a few hours, I did the Pokemon Go thing very hard. That was nice, because I'd accidentally sneaked, like, a 12-mile walk into a weekend because I knew there was a super obscure one nearby or whatever. But in terms of my favorite, I'm a hard advocate for the original 150. I'm sorry. I feel like the second you got beyond 150, it became an unknowable community. And that's not judging other people. It's just 150, you know the personalities of each individual one. Whereas once you get these bigger numbers, it kind of breaks down a little bit. Ditto is probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did always have an inexplainable soft spot for, I think it was called Golem, the fully evolved form of Geodude, Graveler, then Golem.
Oh, that was a cool one.
And I couldn't for the life... Say again?
That was a cool one, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't for the life of me tell you why. But yeah, I think Ditto's probably my favorite, just because, I mean, let's be honest. It's a little blob. It's a little blob friend that also is just chock full of bullshit. And I can get behind that. It's a little blobby Pokemon that's like, hello! And then you're like, okay, cool, go Ditto. And then it's like, cool, I'm going to immediately ruin all of your plans by just making everything you have ineffective. Not to even win, because Ditto's thing is like it becomes whatever it's against, right? But that means that it doesn't give you an advantage over them. It just makes everyone's stuff rubbish. And I kind of love that. I love that it's a little blobby friend whose sole job is to just ruin everyone's fun.
Have you seen Detective Pikachu?
I have. So good.
Oh my god.
So good.
You know how sometimes a joke will just come out of nowhere and completely annihilate you? Ryan Reynolds snotty bowling singing the original Pokemon theme tune in between racking sobs actually destroyed me for about 3 minutes. There's just some...
So that film is... It has no right to be as good as it is.
I know, right?
I heard that and immediately went, one, I am astonished that made it through production hell. Couldn't be happier. Like, great creative team to attach to, etc. But at the same time, like, I'm anticipating this to be garbage. I start watching it ready for it to be garbage, and it held together really well. And it occupies that same space for me as, like, I mean, it's a little bit better put together, but then something like, I don't know, Lego Movie was another one that had no right to be a good film.
Absolutely.
That was meant to be a like trashy cash grab by a corporation, and instead it's something that actually had a charm to it. Pikachu was like that times 10.
Oh God!
Where I was astonished it even existed, and instead it was wonderful. Also, of course, naturally, spoilers. It's a film that entirely, like, Ditto is a core part of the story.
Right?
Nice. Bullshit little blobby friend whose sole job is to ruin everyone's day. That, my friend, is good Ditto right there. That is, like, prime
good Ditto
quality
content.
Ditto. Absolutely. Would subscribe. Would Ditto again, yes.
I just... The moment Pikachu justifies his caffeine addiction with, this isn't a problem. These are choices. I was just like, yes, thank you. We have a question. Alex, when not in COVID times and you go on vacation, do you still work? Or is that a moment you manage to relax more because you're in a different environment?
So that's a good question. We
do.
I am a bit of a contradiction, which is contrary to how I might present. I'm actually quite outdoorsy by terms of preference. The reason that I live in a city is because I had to for the job. Like, I am the... Here's a beautiful, beautiful irony of I literally grew up in a rural northern village, had the conversation of, no, I'm going to go to London and I'm going to tell stories and everyone's going to really, really like it. And then went to London and lived in a garret for a while, like, scraping things together to then tell stories. They're married to the daughter of a once gamekeeper. I'm a Dickensian stereotype.
Yes, you are.
Which is hilarious to me and unintentional, but the thing that was interesting here is, in terms of off time, I much prefer normally, like, being out, like out. And we've hit a bit of a thing now where when I'm out, I truly just disappear. Where thankfully Hannah's been amazing and has really helped facilitate that. But if I'm away, like away, it'll be something like, I don't know. I spent a chunk of time wandering around Vietnam, where that one it's just like clock out. I will check in once a week. Is anything on fire? Yes, no. Okay, bye. But I haven't had the opportunity for a while because things have been spinning up a lot. But I think that's top of my list for the second that it becomes feasible again. Is the only time I can clock out is if I'm truly somewhere else, because what I choose to do is still choose to do stuff. It's like a good holiday for me is I go chop wood for 6 hours a day for a week. Like, that's a good time for me. No decisions to be made. Just turn up, do a thing, go to bed. Like, that's a nice break for me. But yeah, I'm pretty good at clocking out when I'm truly away.
Excellent. This is all really useful stuff because this actually gives us a decent look at the topography of how you relax. You have wide-scale relaxation skills, and that's amazing. The fact that you can just vanish into a country and just go, I will go eat omelets somewhere, and I'll,
Well, it's just another type of binge. I never learned moderation in any aspect of my life, but the benefit there is the door swings both ways. I can work, and then I can also be like, I'm gone. Goodbye. Bye. Just leave me. Bye. But I've never managed to, like, I don't get weekends. I never have. I don't think I've ever had a bank holiday because I don't understand. How do you gear change that quickly? It takes me 5-6 days to go from work mode to not work mode. And the idea that I know there are some people who can just sort of flick that switch, 6 p.m. and I'm going to sit and watch Invincible. Like, that's not a skill I have, and I greatly envy.
Interesting. Here's a left of centre one which kind of brings together a bunch of questions in the chat. Has Casper helped? And Casper's increasingly rotating menagerie of minions.
If I'm being honest, the exact opposite. So, little known fact that Alasdair takes great joy in. Casper, my cat, now has an entourage.
I mean, he's a very good cat, Alex. It's only fair.
The issue is I'm not the one who is a soft touch and makes a point of feeding cats that I know are fine. I know they're fine. But I have got to the point now where I'll come down hearing a bang at 4 a.m. and it's someone else's cat is in my house. And we don't know how. And we don't know why. But there's a poo in the middle of the carpet, and it's pretty certain that that is a non-sanctioned poo. So there's been a lot of that recently. Oh, and I was saying before this call started, there's been a new odd one where, as a gang, they're stealing gloves, and we don't know why.
Are they trying to build another human?
Gloves just started appearing in our garden, and they're not ours, and I don't know why.
We may have to get Casper some hats. It's possible. Had you considered the possibility your cat is actually Fagin? That he's actually...
I'm wondering whether my cat's just trying to build a better owner one piece at a time.
Oh,
I like it. No, they're trying to build they're trying to build a human suit, but they're doing it Iron Man style, where they're iterating. So they're trying to get the right gloves, and then once they got that down, I'm sure a bunch of shoes are going to start appearing, and then trousers and so on. Then eventually, there's going to be a knock at the door, and there's a very misshapen figure that just sort of meows the word food.
I am Mr. Human Person. Feed me.
Hello, human.
Feed me in the manner of you disgusting bipeds.
See, you get it.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Oh, I love your cat.
So he is an excellent cat. As someone who grew up around dogs, he's an excellent cat. However, I forget who said it is. Cats teach you how to spend time with teenagers, and dogs teach you how to spend time with kids.
I love that.
My relationship with my cat is very much a case of like, morning, cool. You gonna be around later? Okay, cool. Well, let me know if you're gonna come in. That's it. That's the sum total of our interactions. We're very cordial, but I don't think I'm really necessary in his life.
It's just you're more a roommate that does useful things with doors.
Yeah, I do the washing up, and I think he appreciates that in a roommate.
Mm-hmm. I respect that. So we're kind of rocking up on an hour here, and I wanted to talk to you about another couple of things before we round it up. The first one was really this. Do you feel empowered where you are with RQ to relax, or do you still feel like it's difficult to gear shift down and out into it? And I mean, I ask questions like that because I'm acutely aware of the fact that, we've all lived in a pandemic for 15 months, and,
Tomorrow's day 400 for us.
Yeah, we're rocking up on day 400 pretty quick. And I remember...
Yeah, because you locked down pretty much the same time we did, didn't you?
Yeah, and I mean, I remember walking 2-3 miles a day like it was nothing, and now it is definitely something.
I think, being brutally honest in a way that often gets cut from our content because it can be a downer. No, not yet. I'm not allowed to. There will be a point, and I know
I'm gonna drill down on that. What do you mean you're not allowed to? Who is not allowing you to relax?
I am not. Well, obviously me, because. Okay, let me give you a trolley problem-esque situation, and that'll sort of sum it up for you. If 1 hour off now is worth 20 people being better off for a year, it is the right call to take that hour if you know that you can do it sustainably in a way that isn't going to come back and bite you. effectively what I've been doing for a long time, and we've already discussed this previously, is that there's an element of mortgaging time a little bit, which is that you weigh up your options. It's stuff like I like traveling. I'd love to travel. I'd love to disappear for 3 years on the trot, just disappear and then come back with a backpack that's lighter than I left, and that's all I'll ever say on the matter. That sounds wonderful, but
do some crimes, you know.
Exactly. But I don't get to do that and have the other stuff. They have to come in a certain order. So what I think people struggle with when they speak with me is they assume that the second that stuff like Magnus is done, it's like, cool, so you enter a down period and then you start building new stuff. It's like, no. That lands as you're in the tail end of building of the new thing. My downtime comes realistically, I would expect things to be a little bit easier for me in a few months.
You said that to me a few months ago.
But they have improved. This is better than it was. It's a what day is it? Wednesday? It's all the same to me. Wednesday. It is a Wednesday, right?
Helping your case. And also, yes.
We have the time for a stream on a Wednesday. That is a net improvement. No, all jokes aside, it's because back-end crunches don't match with front-end crunches in a way that people don't necessarily understand. Some perceived front-end crunches are fictional to me. Like, they don't actually crunch me at all. Whereas this is one where a few things line up, and if you can line them up properly, then it's... Would you rather have a day off now, or would you rather have 3 weeks off in a month, you know? But it is a case of months, whereas if you'd have asked me 4 years ago, it's, do you want a day off now, or do you want a week off in 4 years? Whereas now that's sort of tipped past, so we're in the last stage of that.
I get all of this, and as I was fully expecting, you're making a good point, but I also want to try and reframe this into something slightly different, which is what happens when you no longer have that choice. What happens when you sit down in the secret lab chair and you go, I have no word, brain no do can help.
It hasn't happened yet, so I couldn't tell you.
There is no way for me to say this without it sounding like a bummer. It's going to.
Here's the thing.
All of us.
It has. Okay, I should articulate. It has happened years ago.
Okay.
The one benefit is I know exactly what my limit is, because it's very difficult not to run into your limit when you're working a night job and a day job and a creative gig on the side.
Absolutely.
So I've learned what that was. However, it's a case of at my end. It's about throttle management, I guess. There's a difference between starting a day. I'll get in on that. There's a difference between starting your day and then working yourself flat out for 12 hours and clocking in at 9 and clocking out at 5. So I don't anymore do the hard work binge of like, it's fine, I'll just work non-stop for a week and then deal with it later. It's a little bit more like day-to-day evaluating, where it's like, I suspect I'd be terrible at writing a novel.
Oh, I disagree completely.
My time management's fine, but the idea of like, tough, power through, you are out of time and your deadline is due, I don't think I could do that.
I think there are ways you could write an extraordinary novel. And I think an awful lot of them would involve you starting at the end and working backwards.
Oh, I intend to write a novel. I don't know when that'll be, though, because to me, that is a luxury, not a necessity currently. It'd be horrible. It wouldn't be a pleasant read.
They don't have to be.
But then again, I wouldn't be writing it for other people.
I had a revelation a little while ago when I realized that I wrote something for Nano 10 years ago. And I realized the one mistake I'd made was it was too well behaved. And I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, I realized that I had the opportunity to write a scene where my main character faced down the CIA enhanced aerial life forms from the top of the atmosphere on top of a blazing York Minster and screaming, "Come on, you bastards, do it," and didn't. And he was like, "Dear God, what is wrong with you? You fix that. You fix that now."
But that's the thing, is like, NaNoWriMo to me is alien. Because I've been doing a lot of long term for a long time now.
Mm.
Like I've got stuff cooking, and it's been cooking years. NaNoWriMo, and you get those competitions where it's like, oh, you've got 24 hours, make a short film. I think I'd be terrible at it. I think that part of me is too rusty. I've spent way too long going, cool, in 2037 this will be really good. But it's because I tried it the other way and it didn't work when I was a younger man. I did a lot of you take whatever gig you can get. And that's because if you want to be in the sort of directorial positions and so on, it's difficult when you're younger. So as a result, the first period is that you take anything that you can get, and that means that you tend to get awful stuff. And then you have to learn to say no. The issue is I learned my way out of that. And I was really, really struggling for a long time. And then what clicked was I was always having 1, maybe 2 projects on the go.
Mm-hmm.
When I should have 7, maybe 8. And to be clear, that doesn't mean being full creative burn on 8 things at once. But it means that things just worked for me the second that my brain clicked and I realized, right, so if this thing is finishing, another thing should be halfway through. This is me personally, not the company. That works a little bit differently. At the same time, something else should be starting. At the same time, something else should be pre-production. At the same time, something else should be just beginning. Because that way... It's the same principle. I can't believe I've co-opted self-care for fucking, part of my language, for efficiency production, which is, the idea you should have.
It's only taken an hour. Don't worry.
You should be doing you should be working on a project at the same time that you should be having a health goal. At the same time, you should be having a social goal. At the same time, you should be having a family goal. So that if even one of them comes off per day, that's a good day.
Mm-hmm.
I may retrospectively have just learned the lesson thereof, apply all of that to just work, potentially.
I think you should write that
but
down.
I've never claimed to be an expert in downtime. I have very little experience in it.
My sincere hope is that you get the opportunity to practice, because you and I represent 2 different points in a generation of creatives who suck at this. And I'm not even being cute. We suck at relaxing because of all sorts of things. And it's one of the things that the pandemic is really thrown into stark relief. You're absolutely right. When you're locked alone in your house with just all your projects, you tend to just do all your fucking projects. And on the one hand, pardon me, that's great. And on the other hand, it means that you have very little time to do other things. I actually have an example for you of a hobby, which is also going to keep you out magnificently. In fact, 2 hobbies. This is Chungus. This is our sourdough starter, which is absolutely... Oh, it gets better. The sourdough starter is what I would recommend you try. Baking is a source of incredible satisfaction for me. Because it's magic, Alex. You put 4 ingredients together. Oh, he's onto something.
I have a thing I've started doing as a way of relaxing.
Which is?
I have started learning how to cook. I knew I'd forgotten something.
Tell me more.
I have now made something like 200 recipes I've never tried before in the last 6 months.
Oh my God, dude, that's amazing. How's it going?
It's okay. I'm cheating it a lot by... I realized that I needed to start on the training wheels. Mm-hmm. So we took part in a couple of those, like the meal box things where it's like, hey, we'll send you the ingredients, teach you how to make the thing.
Oh shit, those
There's
are really
like
good,
a tutorial,
yeah.
And it has little stuff where it says like chop the broccoli, chop the broccoli, and it'll say like, when we say floret, we mean blah blah blah. Like, honestly, cooking for idiots. And it started to make sense. I know the difference between this and that and blah, blah, blah. And that's something I've actually only discovered in the last 6 months or so. So yeah, there you go. I knew I had something. I have been learning how to cook.
Perfect. That is perfect. Cooking is amazing.
And it occupies that bit of my brain, that bit that needs tickling, where it's like, I have to be doing a thing, but this way, I've done a thing, and at the end of it, there's a thing we get to enjoy instead of I've just leveled up on something.
Exactly. Oh, I should also point out real quick, Chungus' outfit is Martin.
I see the resolution's not quite there, so I can't quite tell.
This is the not team.
Honey, Alex is over here, remember?
Oh yeah, of course. This is the not team.
Oh no! Weirdly enough, I can see the stream monitor feed. So weirdly enough, that's a better quality, so I can see what you're talking about.
Tiny book of poetry.
In his little pocket, in his little hoodie.
So what I'm hearing is that you fundamentally believe that deep down, what Martin had at his center was just a lot of sourness.
There's some sourness, certainly, but not, doughy sourness.
That is a specifically different take, I'll admit.
I'm.
So you were saying sourdough is the hobby du jour.
Sourdough is just, it's really good. I mean, you get pancakes and they're delicious. What's not to love? But I'm right there with you with cooking. Cooking brought me out myself at a time where I really, really needed it, and I was blessed to have a partner who was incredibly patient. And I only really. And I only really fucked up a couple of things. One of them managed to be sandwiches, which was quite impressive. I didn't know you could fail to prepare sandwiches, but I did it.
Oh, dude! If we're going into the fails route, let me tell you the story of why I am learning to cook. I once tried to do a nice thing and cook a roast dinner for, I think it was my family. This is a fair few years ago. Things that I have done wrong. One, I didn't know that cups was an American unit of measurement. I thought it meant, cups. So I made a curry with enough rice for, we calculated it out. It was intended for 2 of us to have a small meal, and I made rice for 18 people.
That's amazing.
I cooked a roast dinner at Casper. I mixed up the time and the temperatures or something. I basically cooked a roast dinner at gas mark, 8 for 8 hours, and turned a full roast into a block of coal. I made a cake, gave it a chocolatey center, forgot that chocolate hardened, so I just melted chocolate and spread it and went, and that's how frosting is made. So I had a cake that had a solid disc of chocolate, a centimeter thick, running through it.
That actually sounds quite good, though.
I have zero instinct. So I have been right down at bog basics of this is how you make sausage and mash.
Yep, that's where you got to start.
Big revelations. See, I'm not ready for baking yet because I only recently learned that there are different types of flour and they do different things.
Oh yeah.
My recent discovery is corn flour.
Game changer.
All over corn flour.
If it makes you feel any better, when I lived in the States with Marguerite, she went to work one morning and I was overcome with what?
I'm sorry, I'm remembering this story.
And I was overcome with gratitude because I was like, holy shit, this amazing American lady has brought me into her life, and I live somewhere which doesn't fill me with revulsion and fear, and I'm going to make her cookies. So I did. And I was very careful with all the measurements. I got everything right. I put it all in the oven. I set it up.
And then
8 hours later, when she came home, the cookies were warm. And I said, I'm really sorry. I don't really know what happened. And she just looked at me and went, Celsius or Fahrenheit? And I was like, oh.
There's no such thing as Fahrenheit. There are 2 types of temperature in the world. Celsius and Kelvin. Fahrenheit is a myth. Fahrenheit's right up there with whoever thought it was a great idea for us to measure the world in lengths of a fucking dead royal's foot.
I'm right there with you. I'm not gonna lie. I am right there with you.
You are not at fault there, Alasdair. Okay, you are not
America
at fault.
is at fault, not me.
Fahrenheit has no. I'm gonna power down this. Right, you want a hobby? Ranting is a good hobby of mine.
There you
go.
go.
What use is Fahrenheit? You got Kelvin, which is like, well, we'll start at 0. When it's 0, and we'll go up. That's perfectly logical. It's not particularly helpful for day to day, but it is logical. And then you got Celsius. It's like, what's this? This is the range of comfortable temperatures, and you can count them on your fingers and toes.
Thanks, Mr.
Brilliant.
Celsius. Yeah.
If it's lower than I can count on my fingers and toes, it's cold. If it's hotter than my fingers and toes, it's pretty hot. Great. Fahrenheit is just makes no sense to me. I don't get what it's for. I don't understand what purpose it's like. Okay, no, continue ranting. The fact that the scientific community, depending on how it works in the US, has to convert to imperial for certain types of intonation negotiation and that kind of thing, for then people in the US side to have to convert it from their own imperial units to metric, because otherwise the maths doesn't work. Because the maths is scientific. It just... God! I cannot wrap my head around how much unnecessary red tape exists because of Fahrenheit and the imperial system.
I must confess,
rant over.
Haunted by the fact that there is at least one Mars probe we lost because one team were working in feet and inches and everyone else was working in meters and centimeters. Can you imagine being in mission control? Can you imagine it?
I really can. That's the distressing thing, is I really can, and it's the kind of crap that makes me angry at 3 a.m. for no reason. It's like, I don't hold me to the accuracy of this. I think this is true. I remember researching it, but I cannot remember for the life of me. So this is one of those things where I could be wrong. Unless I'm mistaken, the first summit where metric was agreed as the standardized system, the reason the US wasn't present is because they just did a diplomatic whoopsie and so didn't attend.
I believe so.
And that's the reason. That's what it... And it's just like, really? Some random person did a diplomatic whoopsie, and then everyone's just been like, well, ship sailed now. That was very cathartic. I feel much better now.
This house is
clean. I feel
much
better about it now.
This house is clean. Tonight's stream is based on self-care.
The stream is clean. The stream is clean.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel better. There's a few hot button topics, and anyone who, whether willfully or through just not caring enough, allows obfuscation to snowball to the point where people are trying to do the right thing and they can't just because of that. Whoa. Oh, it's nice to have righteous anger occasionally.
By the way, Alex, Hannah is very clearly in the chat, but we shouldn't pay attention to her very obvious alias.
Is she telling me off? She may be telling me off about the fact that I don't know how to turn off yet.
She's not telling you off at all. She's just here to yell self-care at you. Hi, Hannah.
I think what it might be, we're way past bedtime, and the message is just, let me sleep, stop going on about Fahrenheit. Stop yelling about Fahrenheit at 11:30 at night.
4 a.m. this morning. But the thing is, right?
So sorry.
One more thing about calculators, whatever.
I'm getting my graphs. Turn the lights on, honey. Oh, Hannah, I'm so sorry. Hello.
I should apologise to you as well, Alasdair. I've managed to co-opt your self-care stream into let's all tear down various establishments.
Tonight on Fuck Fahrenheit and the horse it rode in on, our guest has been...
So to loop it right the way back round, and pretend that I'm a competent interviewee.
You're a highly competent interviewee.
It wasn't your fault that those cookies went wrong.
No.
That was the final domino in a long chain of avoidable historical events.
Yes.
You're the victim here.
I'm the victim here. Okay, I don't think we're going to get a better end than that. That is perfect. Alex, this has been an absolute delight. Not just because you're amazingly good company, but because I am incredibly heartened that you, who are one of the hardest working people I know, are actually taking steps to do things other than work. Please look after yourself. The world needs you.
I very much appreciate it. It is a pleasure as always, and I will keep saying, I am not trying to set an example here. I am actively telling everyone in the chat, not knowing how to do self-care is not a good thing. That's a very Victorian attitude towards life, and the world has moved on.
Hannah has just
take that message, please. Do better than me.
Hannah has just put, I don't need him, but I do quite like him.
Well, that's pretty much on the money, isn't it?
And on that bombshell, Alex, this has been a joy. Please come back on.
I shall endeavour to do so, and you'll know that if I am, it's because things are even more chill.
Fantastic. We will do face masks again. Thank you so much, buddy. Oh, 1 second.
Look after yourself, Alasdair. Have a good one.
All right.
Oh, and goodbye, Marguerite.